Claire always trusted her Aunt Margaret. Margaret had always seemed wise and caring, and when she recommended some pills for Claire to feel better and have more energy, Claire thought it was harmless. She believed that her aunt would never steer her wrong. The pills were small, white, and easy to take, and at first, Claire felt a little more alert and lively. But there was something subtle, almost invisible, that started to change in her. Her daughter, Lily, was the first to notice. Lily was 10 years old and observant. She saw Claire's hands shaking slightly in the morning, the way her eyes sometimes looked distant, and the tired slump in her shoulders that was new. Lily asked gentle questions, like, "Mom, are you okay? You look tired." Claire brushed it off with a smile and a hug, but deep down, she was beginning to feel uneasy. There were moments when she would forget small things, like where she put her keys or what she planned to cook for dinner. At first, she laughed it off, thinking everyone was a bit forgetful sometimes, but Lily looked at her with eyes that held worry, and Claire felt a pang of guilt. Days turned into weeks, and the changes became harder to ignore. Claire felt restless and anxious without understanding why. There were nights when she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling her heart race, and wondering if the pills were really as harmless as Margaret had said. She loved her daughter more than anything, and the thought that she might be harming herself scared her. Yet, Claire didn't want to question Margaret too much. Margaret had been there through thick and thin, and Claire didn't want to believe that she could be wrong. Lily started asking more pointed questions. "Mom, maybe you should stop taking those pills," she said one afternoon while they were having tea. Claire felt a mix of frustration and fear. She wanted to protect Lily from worrying, but she also could not shake the tiny seed of doubt that was growing inside her. The mother-daughter bond was strong, and Claire knew that Lily's concern came from a place of love. It made her heart ache to see her daughter so worried. Claire's days became a mixture of trust in her aunt and concern for her own well-being. She noticed that she was more irritable than usual. Simple things would make her snap, and she felt guilty for it afterward. Her friends noticed too, but Claire reassured them that everything was fine. She didn't want to admit that she was scared. She had always been a person who liked to take care of everyone else, not herself. One morning, after a restless night, Claire sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, staring at the pills on the counter. She thought about Lily's words. Her daughter's voice echoed in her mind, urging her to reconsider. Claire felt a knot in her stomach, a sense of fear mixed with the responsibility she had as a mother. Could she continue taking these pills, knowing her daughter was worried? Could she continue trusting her aunt blindly? The questions swirled, making it hard to think. The tension in the house was palpable. Claire tried to maintain normalcy, but the small changes in her behavior were noticed by Lily every day. Even simple activities, like playing a board game or reading a story, became moments of worry. Lily's innocence and concern weighed heavily on Claire. She realized that her daughter was more aware than she had thought, and this realization made her feel protective and scared. Claire decided to observe herself more closely. She kept track of her energy, her mood, and her sleep patterns. Every little change felt magnified under the lens of her fear. She also started watching Lily closely, noticing how her daughter's worry grew when Claire seemed tired or distracted. The mother-daughter bond was tested in small, subtle ways that made Claire more determined to find answers. By the end of these first weeks, Claire felt a deep conflict within herself. She wanted to trust her aunt but couldn't ignore her daughter's plea. She began to think that maybe stopping the pills was the right choice, even though it scared her. The unease inside her grew each day, building toward a point where she would have to make a decision. Claire knew one thing for certain: she couldn't ignore Lily's voice, and she couldn't ignore the changes she felt in herself. Something had to give, but she didn't yet know what it would be. Evenings were the hardest. Claire would sit by the window, staring at the darkening sky, thinking about the small white pills and what they were doing to her body. She felt a sense of isolation, as if no one else could understand the conflict she was experiencing. Margaret seemed trustworthy, Lily was worried, and Claire was torn between them. The weight of responsibility, love, and fear pressed down on her, creating a tension that she could not escape. And yet, amid all the doubt and worry, Claire found a small thread of clarity. Her love for Lily and the trust she placed in herself as a mother began to rise above the fear. She knew that listening to her daughter might be the only way to protect herself, even if it meant confronting uncomfortable truths. It was the beginning of a journey that would test her courage, reveal hidden dangers, and ultimately show the strength of the bond between mother and daughter. Claire didn't yet know what lay ahead, but one thing was clear: things could not continue as they were. Claire could feel Lily's worry growing every day. One afternoon, while they were sitting together in the living room, Lily finally spoke up in a quiet, serious voice. "Mom, I don't think these pills are good for you. Please stop taking them." Claire felt her heart tighten. She had expected concern, but not this direct plea from her daughter. She looked at Lily, seeing the fear and love reflected in her eyes, and felt an overwhelming mix of emotions. "Lily, I'm fine. I promise," Claire said softly, trying to reassure her. But even as she said it, she felt a flicker of doubt. Her daughter's words echoed in her mind. Could she really trust Aunt Margaret blindly when her own child was so worried? The thought made her uneasy. She wanted to hug Lily and tell her everything would be okay, but part of her didn't know if it would be. Lily didn't give up. "Mom, please. Just stop for a few days and see how you feel. I don't want anything bad to happen to you." Her voice was steady, but her small hands were clasped tightly together, showing the tension she felt. Claire noticed how brave her daughter was being and felt guilty for having let this situation reach a point where Lily had to plead with her. That night, Claire sat alone in her bedroom, holding the small bottle of pills in her hand. The room was quiet, except for the ticking of the clock on the wall. She thought about Lily's words, the tired look in her eyes, and the tiny signs she had been ignoring, the forgetfulness, the restless nights, the unexplained anxiety. Each memory seemed more important now, more urgent. The motherly instinct to protect herself, but even more to protect Lily from seeing harm come to her, pressed down on her heart. She remembered the first time Aunt Margaret had handed her the pills, the kind smile on her face, the reassurance that they were perfectly safe. Claire had trusted her without question. But now, with Lily's voice in her mind, that trust felt fragile. Claire realized she couldn't ignore her daughter's concern any longer. She needed to think for herself and make a decision that prioritized her well-being and her daughter's peace of mind. The next morning, Claire decided to skip her first dose. She felt a strange mixture of fear and relief. There was a part of her that was anxious about the withdrawal, about what she might feel, about whether she was making a mistake. But there was also a small, growing sense of strength and clarity. She was finally listening to Lily and to herself. Over the next few days, Claire observed the changes in herself closely. Her mind felt clearer, and although she experienced moments of unease and discomfort, she also felt a growing sense of control. Lily noticed the change too. The worry in her daughter's eyes softened, and she smiled more often, her presence comforting Claire in ways she hadn't realized were missing. Claire reflected on the bond she shared with Lily. Her daughter's love and courage had given her the push she needed to face a difficult decision. She realized that listening to Lily wasn't just about the pills, it was about acknowledging the trust and honesty between them, about valuing her child's insight and love. It was a lesson in humility and strength, showing Claire that sometimes the people who love you most can see dangers that you might miss. By the end of the week, Claire felt a tentative sense of hope. She knew she had made the right choice, even if the full consequences were not yet clear. The pills were gone, replaced by a growing awareness of her own health and the importance of listening to those who truly cared. And most importantly, the connection with Lily felt stronger than ever, built on love, concern, and the courage to speak the truth even when it was difficult. Claire spent the next few days reflecting on the choice she had made to stop taking the pills. Each morning, she woke with a sense of nervous anticipation. Her body felt different, lighter in some ways, but also uncertain. She noticed subtle aches and restlessness, small signs that her body was adjusting, and she reminded herself that this was a necessary step for her health and for Lily's peace of mind. Sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, Claire thought about how easily she had trusted Aunt Margaret. She loved her aunt and always considered her wise, but now she realized that blind trust could be dangerous. The thought of what could have happened if she hadn't listened to Lily made her shiver. Her daughter's concern had been a warning, one she should have heeded sooner. Claire made a quiet promise to herself that she would pay closer attention to her own instincts. She realized that she had been relying too much on others to guide her decisions, forgetting that she knew her body and her mind best. The fear of making the wrong choice still lingered, but it was now balanced with a sense of responsibility and empowerment. Claire knew that she had to be strong, not just for herself but for Lily. As the days passed, Claire became more observant of her feelings and her body's reactions. She journaled small notes about her energy, her sleep, and her moods. She noticed improvements in her clarity and focus, though moments of anxiety still appeared. Each small victory reinforced her confidence in her decision. Claire felt a mixture of relief and cautious optimism. She was learning to trust herself in a way she hadn't before. Lily noticed the change too. The tension in the house lessened as Claire's mood became steadier. Her daughter's worry slowly transformed into relief and pride. Claire cherished the small gestures, Lily holding her hand, smiling with reassurance, and offering quiet support without pressure. The bond between them strengthened, built on trust, honesty, and shared concern. Claire also started reflecting on how to approach difficult decisions in the future. She understood that seeking advice was important, but that her intuition and the voices of those who loved her mattered just as much. She felt empowered by the knowledge that she could face challenges and make choices that prioritized her well-being. By the end of this period, Claire had made peace with her decision. She felt proud of herself for listening to Lily and for taking control of her own health. Though uncertainty still lingered, she knew she had done the right thing. The experience taught her valuable lessons about trust, self-awareness, and the importance of paying attention to the people who truly care about her. Claire felt ready to face whatever came next, knowing she had the courage to protect herself and her daughter. Claire knew that seeing a doctor was the next important step. Even though she felt more in control after stopping the pills, uncertainty lingered. She scheduled an appointment with Dr. Lucas, her trusted physician, hoping to understand what effects the pills had on her body and to ensure she was not in danger. The morning of the appointment, Claire felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. She held Lily's hand as they walked into the clinic. Her daughter's quiet presence was comforting, a reminder that she had someone who cared deeply about her. Sitting in the waiting room, Claire's thoughts raced. She wondered what Dr. Lucas would say, whether he would confirm her fears, and what the consequences might be. When Dr. Lucas called her in, Claire felt a wave of nervousness. She explained everything: the pills, her aunt's recommendation, her daughter's concern, and the changes she had noticed in herself. Dr. Lucas listened carefully, taking notes and asking questions about her symptoms, sleep patterns, and emotional state. His calm demeanor helped ease Claire's tension slightly, but the fear of the unknown still weighed heavily on her. Dr. Lucas examined Claire thoroughly. He checked her vitals, asked detailed questions about her health history, and carefully reviewed the pills she had been taking. Claire watched his expressions closely, trying to gauge what he might be thinking. The room felt quiet, filled only with the soft hum of medical equipment and the scribble of pen on paper. Claire's heart raced, her mind filled with what ifs. Finally, Dr. Lucas looked up from his notes. "Claire, it's good that you stopped taking these pills," he said calmly. He paused, letting the words settle in. "They contain ingredients that could have caused serious health problems over time. You were very lucky to have your daughter speak up and to catch this early." Claire felt her knees weaken slightly. Relief and shock washed over her in equal measure. She had been so worried about whether she had done the right thing, and now the truth confirmed both her fears and her instincts. Tears filled her eyes as she thought about Lily's courage and her own decision to listen. Dr. Lucas explained in simple terms the risks of the substances in the pills, how they could have affected her organs, and what steps Claire should take to recover fully. He reassured her that with careful monitoring and healthy habits, she could regain her strength and well-being. Claire felt a mix of gratitude and lingering anxiety, knowing that while she had avoided serious harm, the experience had been a wake-up call. Leaving the clinic, Claire held Lily close, feeling a deep sense of relief and connection. The doctor's revelation had been shocking, but it also brought clarity. She had faced a frightening possibility and emerged with knowledge, understanding, and a renewed appreciation for the love and concern of her daughter. Claire knew that this moment would stay with her forever, shaping how she would approach health, trust, and family relationships in the future. Claire sat quietly in the car after leaving the doctor's office, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. The words Dr. Lucas had spoken echoed in her mind. The pills were dangerous, and she had been very lucky. Relief, fear, anger, and guilt all swirled together, leaving her feeling both exhausted and strangely awake. She thought about Aunt Margaret, about how easily she had trusted her advice. Claire's mind replayed the moments she had taken the pills, thinking she was improving her health, while in reality, she could have been causing harm. The anger was soft at first, then stronger, simmering beneath her skin. But even more than anger, there was guilt for not noticing sooner, guilt for putting herself at risk, and guilt for allowing Lily to worry so much. Lily, sitting quietly beside her, seemed to sense her mother's inner turmoil. Without saying a word, she reached over and held Claire's hand. The simple touch brought Claire back to the present, reminding her that Lily's concern had saved her. She looked at her daughter, seeing the trust and love reflected in those young eyes, and felt a wave of gratitude. Her heart softened, and tears spilled down her cheeks. Claire reflected on how different life could have been if she had continued taking the pills. She shivered at the thought of the potential harm and realized just how important it was to listen to her instincts and the voices of those who cared about her. Lily's warning had been her lifeline. The experience taught her a powerful lesson about caution, trust, and the importance of speaking up when something feels wrong. Over the next few days, Claire focused on recovery. She followed Dr. Lucas's advice carefully, monitored her health, and prioritized rest and nourishment. She also spent time talking to Lily about the experience, emphasizing how brave and wise her daughter had been. Their bond grew stronger with each conversation, each shared reflection, each comforting hug. Claire felt an intense pride in Lily, realizing that sometimes children can see what adults might miss. Though the revelation had been shocking, it brought clarity. Claire began to see her life through a new lens, one where awareness, love, and vigilance were crucial. She made a quiet vow to herself: she would no longer take advice blindly, no matter how trustworthy the source seemed. She would listen to her own body, trust her instincts, and value the concern of those who loved her. The fear and guilt slowly transformed into empowerment. Claire felt stronger, more alert, and more determined than ever. She knew that she had faced a potential danger and come through it with knowledge, wisdom, and a renewed appreciation for her daughter's care. The experience was unforgettable, a reminder of how quickly life could be affected by seemingly small choices and how important it was to act when something didn't feel right. Claire felt a deep sense of relief and gratitude in the days following the doctor's revelation. She focused on her health, following Dr. Lucas's advice carefully, and began to notice small improvements each day. Her energy returned gradually, and the anxiety that had plagued her after taking the pills began to fade. She felt stronger, not just physically but emotionally, knowing that she had made the right decision. She spent more time with Lily, cherishing the moments they shared. They played games, read stories, and laughed together in ways that reminded Claire of the simple joys of life. Every hug from her daughter was a reminder of the courage and love that had saved her. Claire knew that this experience had brought them closer, creating a bond that was unbreakable and full of trust. Claire reflected on the lessons she had learned. She realized the importance of listening to her instincts, valuing her own judgment, and paying attention to those who truly cared about her. She understood that blind trust, even in someone she loved dearly like Aunt Margaret, could have dangerous consequences. The experience had taught her to be vigilant and thoughtful, but also compassionate toward herself. She made plans to maintain her health, incorporating exercise, healthy meals, and regular checkups into her routine. Claire also started journaling again, writing about her feelings, her fears, and her growth. Each entry was a reminder of her strength and resilience, a record of a journey that had been frightening but ultimately empowering. Claire and Lily often talked about the experience, acknowledging the fear they had both felt but celebrating the bravery and honesty that had guided them through it. Claire felt proud of her daughter, recognizing that Lily's wisdom and care had been instrumental in protecting her. Their conversations became moments of reflection and bonding, reinforcing their connection and teaching Claire valuable lessons about trust and love. In time, Claire found peace. She no longer carried the constant worry about the pills or their potential effects. Instead, She focused on the present, on her health, and on nurturing her relationship with Lily. She knew that life could be unpredictable, but she also knew that with awareness, love, and courage, she could face challenges and emerge stronger. Claire's journey had been difficult, but it left her with wisdom, resilience, and a renewed appreciation for the people who loved her. She understood that listening to her heart and the voices of those who truly cared could make all the difference. As she looked at Lily, smiling and full of life, Claire felt a deep sense of gratitude. She knew that together, they could face anything, and that the bond between mother and daughter was a source of strength that would guide them through all of life's uncertainties.